Hey, this is Kyle Crawford from Strong Dads. Strong Dads podcast would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Crimers Beer House was started in 1982 by the Crimer family, and since that time, they have definitely become a Cincinnati favorite. So if you're looking for an incredible meal in an incredible setting, definitely go down to Route 128 and check out the Crimers Beer House. Hey guys, welcome back to Strong Dads here with Merle. We got a special guest in the house. Merle, I'm jacked for this show.
You are
man.
jacked.
I am.
Normally I'm the guy who brings the guests in, and you kind of feel like, well, I'm second fiddle. Well, I am definitely. This is your man. You've connected.
Well, usually bring some fitness guy in, and I know nothing about that world.
Yeah. Kyle doesn't know the first thing about like lifting a weight or anything like that, and so normally I'm like, oh, Kyle, come on. But now Kyle's the woodworker, and I dabble in it, believe it or not. I have a shop and stuff, but I'm not in you guys' league at all. So you go ahead and take it away, Kyle.
Right. Yeah. So guys, I'm really excited for our show today. Our guest is a full-time YouTuber. He actually just gave up his other full-time gig to do the full-time YouTube. He's got two YouTube channels. Get this, over 180,000 subscribers to his channel. So he's the real deal, right?
Yeah, well, I'm actually very ticked off at this point because we can't get over 100. So, at what point does this all blow up, right?
So, yeah, so our guest today, he's got his YouTube channels, a Glimpse Inside and a Closer Glimpse. This dude has got videos ranging anywhere from making farmhouse tables all the way. He's a very early one of his videos on how to make Uncrustables for his kids. So wide range of skills and abilities. I would say he probably the way he refers to himself as a content creator. But he definitely dabbles in the woodworking. So that was drew me to him, reached out to him, and was really excited to have him on. So in his words, not mine, without further ado, I would like to introduce Chris Burton to the show. So Chris, how you doing today?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me on. Very much appreciated. Doing well. Kids are off to school, and I'm here with you guys this morning before we start making some sawdust. So, how y'all been?
Good.
Doing great. Yeah, great to have you join us. So,
yeah, I think it's going to be a great conversation. A little for all you strong days out there. So I woke up this morning. My girls came out. They ran out. So my girls actually watch a Glimpse Inside with me. So we always look forward to having Chris's shows come out on the Glimpse Inside channel. So thanks so much for the content that you're putting out, because it's awesome that I get to watch a few girls. So
see, I would be so nervous about doing a woodworking YouTube video, because I would be that guy that we'd have to turn the camera off about every other, 30 seconds, and I'd have Band-Aids all over my fingers and there'd be blood on things. It probably wouldn't be pretty. So I take my hat off to you that you can do that.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate
it. Well, hey, we're going to get into the conversation. Before we do, let's thank our sponsors, and then we'll obviously we'll turn the mic over to Chris and let him share a little bit about himself. So Strong Dads, we would love to thank the Crimers Beer House for coming alongside of us. The Beer House, go check them out down on Route 128. We love having them as a sponsor of our show. Really do appreciate them. Go down there, let Mark know we sent you down there.
Absolutely. Also want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside Strong Dads for all your landscaping, hardscaping, and just gift needs. Go down and see Casey. He's got you covered. Does amazing work and just a great guy. So go down and see Casey's Outdoor Solutions outside of Lawrenceburg, Indiana.
Cool.
All right, let's rock and roll. Let's do this. Let's get the Chris story.
I like it. Yeah. So Chris, obviously when I did my brief intro, I left some things out because I want to respect you and your family. So I will turn the mic over to you. Introduce yourself to all of our Strong Dads out there. Let them know who you are, what you got going on, a little bit of your dad experience.
Sure. So my name is Chris Burton, and I'm currently 41 years old at the time of this airs. And I've got 3 kids. I got a 14-year-old stepson who's about to turn 15. I've got a 5-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. So I had kids a little bit late in life, as a lot of people do sometimes in this day and age. And quite frankly, I've always said since I've been, almost a late teenager, 18, 19 years old, that I've always wanted to be a dad. It's been one of those things where I've always had a great relationship with my father. And that's been very important to me. I always said this: if I become a dad that's half as good as mine, right, I would be 200% enthralled, right? Does that make sense? So I've had a good support system with him in terms of being a dad to look up to. He's been a real strong leader. He's been a hard worker, and he's been a real nurturing father as well. So I think there's a big balance that I learned from him to be, strong yet compassionate as well. And I hope and pray that really that comes through with my kids each and every day. My wife, Madison, she she and I have been married for, let's see, almost 8 years now. We're both on our second rodeos, as you probably could tell, because I have a stepson. And you learn a lot in those first go-arounds, and we're actually a better couple today because of the fact that we've been through so much and learned so much from our previous experiences. There's as my wife is dealing with, you guys probably know, we'll get into this later, but she's dealing with a few health concerns. She's been doing a lot of research and reading quite a bit. And there's this concept that she came across by Scott O'Neill, who was the GM for the 76ers. He wrote a book called Be Where Your Feet Are. And the concept is basically, they call it API, which is assume positive intent always. So whenever you deal with anything in life, especially your family, whenever you go to confront something or just be there for someone, you have that assume that positive intent, even if something may not be right. That has kind of been a big thing for us lately, but you're really wanting a synopsis of who I am. Sorry to dabble into that, but
you're good.
I would just say that I tend to be a father that wants to wake up every day, be there for his kids, provide for them in whatever way I can, monetarily, emotionally, whether we're playing with Play-Doh on the table or whether I'm out there doing a big commission or trying to build a business. Either one, that's kind of the goal, and that's always what I've thought is kind of the goal of what a real dad should be. We have certain responsibilities in this world, and I think it's admirable if when I see dads like you guys and friends of mine that are stepping up to the plate each and every day, even though it may be difficult sometimes, as most people's circumstances are so different but so similar all at the same time, because we're all dealing with what we have to do to get life to go to that next step, right? And that's pretty much kind of our philosophy here. So, yep. And also I do run a YouTube channel here called A Glimpse Inside. I started it back about 5 years ago now, and the trials and tribulations of working retail my whole entire life. I worked as a bakery manager for a lot of years, and trying to build a channel at night and when my kids were asleep, and when I'm on days off, and we work weekends and holidays and all that good stuff. And I just thought there might be a better way. And the long and the short of it was, my wife was a hairdresser for so many years, and she had some health issues and she lost her career. And I thought, well, we're a dual income family with children. Something's got to happen, So she goes, why don't you go outside and film your commissions that you do every once in a while on your phone? And I told the story before, but I was like, I can't do that. The phone? I need a DSLR. I need a new MacBook. I need all the stuff that all these YouTubers have, And she said, that's a bunch of malarkey. Get out there and just try it. I said, okay, fine. So I did. It took me 3 months to do that and edit a video on an app called Video Shop. And coincidentally, I still film on a phone. I still use that same app to edit all my videos, but it worked. And so over time, I was gaining like 10,000 subscribers a year for about 3 years. And then I decided that eventually, you know what, I've got to take some risks in life to make anything happen. And so I left Publix in 2019, took a little bit of an investment out from some things that I had invested in the past, and built a shop. And that shop now, it's got 1.8 million views. That took a long time to film and build, about 4 months. And I figured I would do it all in one fell swoop, just to, do the shop at one, not iterations, not here's the floor, here's the AC, here's the walls. I didn't want to do that. And it was advantageous for the channel. And that video has brought in probably close to 45 to 50,000 subscribers. So wow. It's definitely helped us grow, and it was definitely worth it. As luck would have it, 4 months later, the career that I left to go start a new one in commercial HVAC didn't work. The family friend of ours who had run that business basically was dishonest about a lot of stuff. So Publix took me back as a floating assistant manager. And I did that for about a year before I pulled the plug and said, look, I got to be here for my family. Because at that point, my wife's condition was getting worse. And so she was pretty much bedbound at the time. And I said, you know what, I've got whatever it was, 130 something thousand subscribers at the time. I got to go. I got to see if I can just make this work. And we'll get into kind of the progression of that. But that's pretty much the Cliff's Notes of, from birth till now.
Yeah. Well, how did you see that there could actually be light at the end of the tunnel financially? Like, when you start doing this, we don't wake up in the morning one day out of nowhere and say, I'm going to be rich by shooting YouTube video.
No.
So how did
No,
you
you
all
don't.
of a sudden start to connect like, oh, wow, this could be monetized? And like, how did that
Sure.
open up to you?
First and foremost, I woke up this morning still not thinking that. So I guarantee it. I'll say this, a family of 5 needs a certain amount of income to survive. Okay. And let's just do a ballpark here. We're in the South, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida, family of 5. And where we are with our situation, I would say a family needs close to $100,000 probably a year to survive how we are. With everything going on with what we have, the insurance needs that we have. I mean, I've got kids with special needs. I've got a stepson with epilepsy. I've got all kinds of stuff. We have to have insurance here. So was I at that point? Absolutely not. Did I believe in myself? Yeah. And I saw enough of a trajectory with the channel to know that if I was able to not spend 50 something hours a week doing something else and dedicating that hard work to this, that I knew the belief in myself, something would give, something would happen.
Yeah.
And my thought was, done a lot of reading about YouTube in terms of, how do you monetize yourself on YouTube? And a lot of so the people who don't have millions of subscribers, the people who are like me, okay, the best thing you could absolutely do is to get your audience of however many thousand you have, get them off of YouTube to support you in matters that aren't containing to that platform. So what that means for me is little things like Patreon, get them off of YouTube, go somewhere else. If they like the story, they want to support us, that's great. We've developed a crew of about 115 or 16 patrons now, which is way off of YouTube. And then I figured, I've got the CNC here. I'm going to try to develop some products because I really think that shop organization is key. And that wasn't my first thought. My first thought was like tables and cornhole boards and all kinds of kind of fun stuff or practical stuff. And those failed, those flopped. So I was at a crossroads. I'm like, I made this leap. I'm out on my own. I'm still producing content, but I'm trying something else that's absolutely failing miserably. And then this epiphany kind of went off in my head. I said, at the time, I got 150,000 subscribers or whatever it was. I said, every single one of those people probably have 2 drills. And so let me come up with something that holds drills, that looks sexy, that looks kind of cool, and has this aesthetic choice. Let me show you real quick in case your audience doesn't know.
I've never heard the word sexy for a drill holder.
No, you probably,
this is.
So,
now
this is it right here.
There, brother. That's sexy.
And so this right here, this little corbel right here kind of gives it that architectural Victorian kind of look to it. And I thought, if I could transfer that into something really functional for the maker in their shops with really like the quality plywood, it might work. So I put a video out showcasing doing it for myself, telling people I was making a kit for my dad, basically, and would there be any interest? And I said, okay, yeah. About 300 comments of that video came in dedicated to absolutely, I'll buy some.
Wow.
And I said, well, if the adage of every problem you have is a problem at scale, then that means maybe every positive person who's forthcoming about something is the same at scale, right? I mean, have you heard that the problems we have are the same problems we have at scale? Like,
right.
if you get like 1% of people, it's a whole bunch. Long story short. So I decided, the next video I did was kind of infomercial for this tool holder. I refined it, made it right. Took a lot of programming and finally made it and launched it and woke up the next day and there was about $4,000 in the account. It had sold $4,000 worth overnight.
Wow.
And at $15 a piece. So
wow.
I was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
And it took and that I rode that trend for about 3 weeks. I didn't get much sleep in those 3 weeks, and I was manufacturing. I wasn't ready. I didn't know to have a back stock of 300 plus before I got started, and I didn't. So I had to make them while shipping. I didn't have anything like this. I had no infrastructure. This is why this is so dialed in now, is because if something comes in, we average in downtimes, I average about 1 to 2, 3 orders a day. Which I'm not complaining about that at all. And then when I launch something new or do a promotional thing on my channel, it gets a bump. I need to be able to come in here within like 1 or 2 hours, just knock it out, right? Because time is money, time is important. And I think that's probably our biggest resource as dads, right? We're stretched so thin. So the belief, to answer your question, and I'm gonna run this podcast long, guys. I'm sorry, but to answer your question, really you have to have that belief in yourself, but you have to also see a trend that's happening. So your channel has to grow. Your channel has to have people who are responding to you about something that they connect with. So what people connect with me and my channel isn't necessarily what I build. If I was going to make a YouTube channel on my woodworking skill, I'd probably have like 500 subscribers. Really, it's more or less like what I get from people is that when they watch my videos, they feel like they're just having a conversation with me. Like, man, I wish I was your neighbor, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty cool connective tool, and that helps me in business as well. To be someone that really wanted to see my car in the parking lot instead of dreading to see my car in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Because we've all worked for those people that when you saw their car, you were like, God, I want to go here right now, right?
Well, Chris, you bring up a man. That is one thing that drew me to your channel and to constantly be watching you is your demeanor, your attitude. My girls love watching your kids run through your channel. Man, that is exactly what you're talking about. That's why I subscribe to you. That's why I watch your videos, man, because just your demeanor, just the way in which you approach,
Thank you.
Yeah, I love one of the things you don't edit out your mistakes, or if you do, you put them back in at the end, right? Man, I love
sometimes, yeah.
I love that because
sometimes he said sometimes.
Sometimes
I love that because it's someone who is trying to emulate and trying to do things that you're doing. It's nice to know that I'm not the only one making mistakes, right? It's nice to know that someone who is in the platform you're in is also making mistakes. And man, I think the thing to be said about us as dads, like, man, we're not going to be perfect, right? Like we're going to constantly make mistakes. And man, I kind of want to jump into that a little bit with you, talking about you as a dad. You briefly touched on a little bit. Will you dive into a little bit about your kids and kind of the challenges and some of the things that are going on there?
Sure. So let's just start with the oldest from the youngest. Okay. The oldest is 14. He's smart as a whip. But people say, hey, typical teenagers, they just kind of want to hang out and talk with their friends on the internet and maybe ride their bikes around and do whatever. Not the most focused on school, right? Some kids are just, I wasn't wired that way. I wasn't wired to be like, I'm gonna go make straight A's. That's my goal. That wasn't me. I got through school okay. And I love doing extracurricular things, and I try to instill this in him. But right now, some of the challenges, and that's what this is about. You got to be a strong dad because you're put through some challenges, and that's why we become strong, right? So the challenge with the oldest is to kind of keep him on the right trajectory, steering him in the means of and wanting to do well for himself, because he's getting to the age where in a month, less than a month, his birthday is next week. He's going to be able to get a learner's permit, he's going to start driving. And the level of responsibility needs to be pretty high when you start into these echelon of driving a car. Mm-hmm. My dad's always said, look, son, when you get this car, you have a 4,000-pound weapon at your disposal, and you need to understand whatever you do with this weapon will cause you detriment if you're not careful. You and someone else. So you can use it irresponsibly and you will mess up your life unbelievably. So that's always stuck with me. And I'm trying to get him to understand, if the trash needs to go out, to not walk by it when it's full. Little things like that, right? We as dads, we all have kids who drop the ball in little things. It's just the way it is. And we think to ourselves, how are they going to operate a car if they can't do this? Is that the best way of thinking? Probably not. Okay. So, but you got to understand, like at that age, I was very motivated by things I wanted to do. Right. And if I don't give him some foresight into what he wants to do, the motivation is not going to be very strong. So, and I have noticed that when there's something that he really wants to do and I give him free right of refusal, yes, absolutely, I support you, but I need a week of XYZ responsibilities. He's got that thing nestled in his brain that he's going to do. He wants to take, whether it's go like to a skating rink 3 days in a row, 3 parties, whatever it is. Man, that week leading up to it, because he knows it, he's on point, showering without being asked, that kind of stuff. Not to divulge too much here, but I think we all as dads know
brushing
it's
his
just
teeth.
not, it's just not part of their daily routine, right? And we need to be on them constantly. And we like eventually to have it, what I call it'll click one day, because it does click with young men. And at some point we go, got it. I know what I got to do. And man, he hates that terminology. I'm like, it'll click one day. He's like, will you please stop saying that?
Yeah.
So some of the teenager challenges for sure with him as you go further down the spectrum here. We got my daughter who's 5, and my daughter, I tell you what, and forget, I'm not going to say their names on this podcast, by the way, because I've never said their names on the channel.
Yep.
So I've just known them as my kids. So I hope you guys understand.
Absolutely.
She's been such a delight of a little girl. She's so kind and so sweet. But we did realize after my son who was born, he had some issues. I'm gonna go back to her in a second because it's important to know the timeline from him. He was born with a gray color. My wife had preeclampsia with all 3 kids. He came out, he looked like there was no life in him. And I was massively concerned. The doctor said, look, umbilical cord was wrapped around. We got it, smacked his butt, cried. All the color came back within like 15 seconds, like instantly quick. And he was crying and moving and looking around, and everybody thought everything was fine. And I held him within the first 10 minutes of him being alive, and I held him with my dad. And I said, I don't think everything's typical here. And he goes, I see it. None of the women could see it, but my dad and I could see it. And so as he became a little older, a few months older, we realized he was born with torticollis, where torticollis is a condition basically where your neck is tilted to one side and your body thinks that's neutral. So you can really look one way and you can't look the other way, right? It's like a permanent crick. So he was always laying on his back and he was always turned to the side, and there was something up. So he had to get fitted for a helmet, and he wore that for about a year to fix the plagiocephaly. That was the big flat spot on his head. And he got into therapy pretty quick because we realized there was just a disconnect. We weren't sure what. Could have been from lack of oxygen from the cord. Could have been that it was, who knows? I mean, you just don't know.
Right.
So we have therapists coming in. The reason that's relevant, we have therapists coming in for him to work with occupational stuff and help him get off his back, and they knew techniques and had little whatever. And one of the therapists looked over at my daughter and said, you need to go get her tested. And we were like, huh? Because we didn't quite notice. She was 2.5. She was kind of going, asking for stuff, and she was saying a few words and whatever. She was, you need to go get her tested. There's something not right. Wow. And we were kind of like, what in the world? So we did, and absolutely, she. The reason they call it an autism spectrum, and they're not diagnosed with autism just yet because you got to be 6 years old. Okay, so right now they're considered developmentally delayed. Her communication as she was getting older was not matching at her age. So she was communicating up to about a 2-year-old level until she was about 4.5. And now she's 5.5, and she communicates some. She says some sentences, but you can't conversate. Okay. So you can't say, hey, what did you do in school today? She doesn't know how to answer it. She doesn't know what you're saying. But you can say, what's your favorite Paw Patrol? And she'll say Zuma. So she knows certain things. It's like but you can't really, there's a disconnect still. And so the challenges with that are expectations of children who can communicate, but can't communicate well, and they don't know why. That's my daughter. Mm-hmm. So to match her expectation of what's supposed to happen, it's hard to get her to come out with what she wants. And when it doesn't happen, she's so frustrated that she can't get her ideas across because she shuts down, puts her thumbs in her ears and stuff like this, and screams. And so right now, over the past 6 months or so, I'm not going to lie to you guys, it's been really tough. She, and granted, she's a blessing and she's wonderful and all that, but we can't figure out what she needs most of the time. And she's upset because we can't figure it out and she can't articulate it. So all that creates kind of an environment that's kind of eggshelly, right? You don't really know if things are in the wrong place, if a chair's not tilted a certain way, sets her off. It's so crazy. Wow. And then when she goes, my son goes because he's empathetic. He doesn't want to see her struggle. He don't want to see her struggle. When she starts crying, he starts crying like crazy, and it becomes a cacophony of like, whoo, it's pretty nuts. So those are, this is about the real struggles of real dads, right? So that's kind of what we have going on at the moment. And like I said in our talk before, you hear people like Tom Hanks always say, this too shall pass. You just learn patience, try to figure it out the best you can. And the best thing you can do in those situations is just understand that that's not what that child really wants. my daughter doesn't want to pitch a fit and scream. That's nowhere near, right? She's got to have positive intent with this. And so, but when we get it right, it's smooth as water. Like it's great. But it's struggling to get her expectations right. So there you go. But they're in the process of getting diagnosed and certified and all certified with the school board. And in fact, we're doing all the paperwork as of right now, last few days, to get them further progressed in the education and therapies that they need. So.
And I know you shared on your channel, obviously they're now in school, and I wanted to jump in a little bit about the support system. Obviously the schools have from what you're telling on your the Glimpse Inside channel, that the school has been great for them. Will you talk a little bit about that support system, just generally speaking, just kind of everyone that's been involved in helping raising your kids along with you and your wife?
Yeah, we're here in Duval County, and a lot of times in this area of Duval County, the school board gets a little bit of a bad rap, but it really isn't true with the case where we are. Our school is amazing. They have great staff and cognitive thinking staff trying to figure things out. They have a whole what they call ESD and CSS program. What they stand for, something about exceptional education, but. My son's in the CSS, which are children who need a lot of help, right? They're nowhere near being potty trained. They are nonverbal, non-communicative, kind of, my son's like, he kind of stares up into space and, all that kind of good stuff. Hold on one second. I don't have, sorry.
You're good.
My phone for this. I don't have it on airplane mode. So long and short of it is, they're awesome, and they have therapies that help. The structure of school has helped immensely. The routine of getting up, getting on the bus. Of course, the bus comes right to the driveway. It's the service they offer for these kids, which is fantastic. And they have great teachers. My daughter's teacher has been with her for 2 years, and I get pictures like from one of the school apps, like they call Class Dojo. And she's like, "Hey, Glenn did this today," and the communication to us is really great too. So that team of people who have dedicated their lives to learning and putting a lot of sacrifices, because to deal with these types of struggles at home, I would never think me as a person, I don't have the personality to go, I want to go help this in my career. That's just not how I'm wired. Okay, I get it. But the people that are, more power to them. My hats are off. I'm not gonna take this hat off right now because nobody's gonna see me without a hat. But But my hat's off to those people, and they do a fantastic job helping a routine and structure and getting the kids kind of acclimated to what kind of the real world is going to happen. Worst thing for a special needs child, I think, to me, is just to be cooped up at home all day. I mean, that is, they have to be socialized. They have to talk to or communicate with like-minded children, and they learn a lot from each other, for sure, more so than they probably learn from us.
Yeah. Chris, I just want to thank you just for, me coming through the education world, and I spent my last 20 years in the education world was specifically with, kiddos like yours. And that was my deal. And I want to say that, not that I ever planned to go here, but the idea that you salute your school, by and large, most schools are awesome. The school that I worked at, I was impressed every single day with our staff, because just like you said, like I didn't work directly with the kids, but I had staff that I kind of oversaw that staff, and they would go, and I would look at them every day like, how do you do this? And so the idea here is, there's a lot of great people out there in that world of education, because they have to have the heart for it. And so if I could say anything just from my experience, your kids are going to do fine, because they're in that program. I watch kids. I would get them at preschool age, and they would leave my building at 5th grade, and the amount of progress because of the routines and the programming, the desensitization of a lot of these different sort of stimulations that seem to drive them crazy. It is amazing to watch these kids progress.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I've heard a lot of that.
I mean, we don't ever make guarantees or anything like that, but I'll tell you, I saw it all the time. And there were many times where I'm like, man, this kid's getting ready to leave our building. He is not even the same kid that came into our building at preschool. Yeah. So I just thank you for saluting your school. And I think if
course.
because right now the narrative is all these, and I'm assuming you're at a public school because that's about the only place you can get these kind of services, that these people, they're in it. And the idea that you have kids like this that are different, but yet still just as special, and you chime in with, hey, I wanted to say something, because part of what I have recognized in these kind of situations is marriages break up frequently. The rate of divorce among parents with special needs kids is about 30% higher than the regular rate, which is at 50%. Right. So about 80% of parents that go through these kind of things, they fatigue out of the marriage. All right. They just start to wear down. And so
there's no time for each other.
That's right.
You have to be really, really conscious of making sure you keep that time for each other.
Yeah. And then you add, as you talked about before, some of the challenges that your wife has, her own health challenges. So, I mean, if I could just go down this road, the world might tell you, dude, how do you do all this? Like, if I were you, I would just check out, right? What's in you that keeps you? Yeah, it's not an option. You say, well, why not? Yeah. Why not? That sounds like a stupid question.
No, it's not. Not at all. Why not? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. Well, for one, the first reason I just say is because it's just not the right thing to do. Okay, there's a difference. There's black and white, right and wrong. I mean, it's just not right. It's not fair. Now, we always say fair is a weather condition, but it is not right, and you can't justify taking a support system like a father out of someone's life, or a willing and loving husband out of someone's life who doesn't deserve to have them gone. Right now, we're not talking about people who have lost their lives to tragedy and all that. We're talking about dads who have just said, I can't do this anymore. And quite frankly, I will never understand that. It's a touchy subject to me. The long and the short of it is that my wife was raised by her grandparents. So, okay, you got that. So I just don't see how you could have a baby girl and say, here. I don't see it. And so in me, there's a couple things I think about. And there's I can't even tell this story, man. Whew, this is okay. So if no one hears anything about this podcast here, it's gonna be hard for me to tell the story. Okay, I'm gonna tell it. Here it goes. I think about this all the time. I worked with a man. I'm just call him Steve. That's what his name was, and he had a son named Matthew. I say had a son because Matthew was born with a condition which I don't know the name. Forgive me, but he was basically born without motor function, and was born on basically a quadriplegic. Fully functioning organs at the time of birth, and his brain was fine, but his body and his nervous system just wasn't there. So they raised Matthew, and he at an early age was in the littlest wheelchair you could imagine, and he never once moved a muscle, but he could communicate with some slurs and eyes and stuff like that, and he never did say a word. And he ended up passing at 24 years old. And so Steve and his wife, God love them. They're God-fearing individuals. They put a lot of faith in the fact that this was their duty to make sure Matthew was comfortable and he was taken care of. They have two other daughters too, who are typical children. And Matthew was the baby, right? And Matthew ended up passing away at 24. His organs just couldn't take it anymore because his body just wasn't apt to move around. The atrophy that happened and whatnot. And Steve said something at the funeral I'll never forget. Oh, golly. He said, I don't even know how he got through it. He said, Matthew's taught me a million things in this world. And I used to kind of fear like death. I used to kind of fear that I just wanted to be on this planet and be here for the people that needed me. And Matthew's not here, and I still have a wife and other children I have to be here for, and I have a career, and I have a lot to live for. But I don't fear death anymore, because I know when I die, oh my gosh, I told myself I would get through the story because it's so prevalent in my head. Is that he's like, I'll finally be able to get my son to call me daddy. And boy, I tell you, everybody lost it. Like I'm losing it now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was just like this moment where, I thought about it all the time before I had kids, and then I had kids, and my son really hasn't said anything yet either. So it's one of those things where you can't, if someone can go through some like a thing like Steve did, right? That's a tragic situation.
Yeah.
But they looked at the best things out of it they possibly could. Now, I don't know what they went through over those 24 years. I'm sure it was tough. I'm sure that marriage struggled. I don't know. It was, it's just not my business, but they made it, right? And they made the best of it. And the fact of the matter is that if someone can go through something so difficult and so heart-wrenching, it kind of puts it in perspective that it's so possible for you, me, whoever it is, to go through what you're put in front of. I mean, there's a saying, if God leads you to it, he's going to help lead you through it, right? And there's a lot to be said about all that. So I'm not saying you got to think about people who got it worse to make yourself feel better. That's not the point of this. The point is that it's looking at if you want to be a strong dad, like this podcast says, that's your goal. I want to be the strongest dad possible. You're only going to get that way by going through a whole bunch of challenges.
Right.
You won't have that strength unless you go through the things that make you so. Brian Shaw isn't the world's strongest man or whoever it is now because he didn't spend hours upon hours of doing challenges and trying to do things that were just superhuman, right? Same goes for being that way emotionally. Same goes for being that way intellectually. You got to study your mind. You got to be smart. People, I mean, it's without, I mean, you could be a savant at something for sure. But if you're, your typical human being and you want to excel at something, you just got to put yourself in situations that make you better, and they're going to be hard.
Man, I love it. I mean, that's the deal, right? Like sometimes we call ourselves a strong dad when, we don't spend time with our kids. We don't go through the stresses, and it's like, you know what, you don't know if you're a strong dad until you get the stresses. Yeah. And so, we have, of our 5 kids, we have 2 biological sons, and they're out raising their own kids now and doing their thing. And then we adopted 3 younger kids, and we thought we were such great parents with our 2 older kids because we got them at the cradle, right? We got them, and they were great kids. They're still great guys and everything, doing their thing. And we were walking around like how great we are, right? Patting ourselves on the back. And then we adopted 3 kids that came from a challenging background. And, every day we have these challenges, and I'm like, wow, I'm starting to really realize what it is to be a strong dad, because I'm not nearly as good as I thought I was. Right. But the idea is there's no quit. Now, sorry, that's not an option.
Yeah. And that background you talk about is real. It matters. I tell you, man, there's a reason that my wife and my stepson are not with the previous father and husband. It did quite a bit of a maladjusting from 0 to 5, and that's the most impressionable years for a kid, and it still affects him today. He doesn't want to see him. He doesn't want to talk to him. I can't mention his name. He's like, don't talk about him. Just So and he actually is been trying over the last little while, like a year or so, like to reach out and say, can I help make this right? I want to talk to him. I want to figure this out. And he's like, I don't want to talk to him. Sorry. And it's like, there is a point where, who knows, 18, 19, 20 years old, maybe he'll reconnect. I don't know.
Well, none of us are perfect, right? We're all a product of our own life. And so, we're reconnected with our kid's dad, and he was incarcerated and everything else, and now he's a guy who he was a product of his upbringing of not a very good dad experience. And I think the thing that Kyle and I really have drawn from this is, if I'm having a guy that's not a very good dad, I can tell you with great certainty that he had a bad dad experience. I mean, not
same goes for us.
Yeah, not 100%, but there's a lot of certainty that the previous dad experience wasn't good, which is
being a great dad is like building trust, meaning that being a great dad, it takes a lifetime to achieve. and you can ruin your reputation in 30 seconds. The same thing with trust. You can build trust for 3 decades, and then something happens in a minute and it's gone.
Very true.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a balancing act, and it's very fragile. But but I will say this: it's not hard to do. I mean, not for me. I don't find it challenging to be a good dad. I find it challenging to maintain a level of fathership that these kids deserve, because their challenges are their own struggles, and I'm going through those with them, right? And not to say I don't have my own. Sure, I got my own struggles, big time, man. I mean, there's no doubt. And a lot of dads deal with this, and they feel like, if you're a dad out there speaking from one to another, that feels like you have so much on your plate, and your family just keeps adding peas to the plate, and they keep falling off. You got this massive, big responsibility that you're almost forgetting to put the oxygen mask on yourself when the plane's going down. Meaning, like, I don't do the best job of taking care of my health. I don't. I'm a little stocky. I need to make better decisions. I've been doing so lately, but it's been a struggle my whole life. And you would think having children that need you, 100% need you all the time, would be a motivating factor, but it's tough, man. It's tough. So that's the biggest struggle for me, is knowing that I have to make a lot of sacrifices and wants and desires for me to be there. And I'm still struggling with that to this day. So
where does that fit in for you, Chris, man? Like, obviously, as you're speaking, your kids take a lot of your time, which obviously you're fully committed. Your heels are dug in. You're in it with them, right? And you spoke a little bit about your wife having some health issues as well. Where do you personally, obviously, you have a woodworking channel. Where do you personally find your joy, your ability to wake up and be energized and ready to go? Like, where do you personally find that?
Honestly, it's in seeing things become better than they used to be. I'm a big proponent of trying to make progress in whatever you do. You wake up and you have a whole day. You have a whole day to accomplish things, and they could be tangible, they could be intangible. But that kind of gets me kind of going. Look, my goal today is to, like, let's just freshen our mind, right? Last week, this place that I'm in right now was full of just nasty old antique furniture from an old business. It was like, infested with like mice. I mean, it was crazy. This has been neglected. And I said, I'm giving myself 7 days to make this a completely livable space. And now I can sleep in it. It's comfortable. It's insulated. It's walled. It's sealed. The floors are. It's amazing. So, I personally like setting goals that aren't too lofty and trying to achieve them and seeing them come to fruition. Whether it's, today we're getting Play-Doh set on Amazon, and we're going to make My Little Ponies on the Paw Patrol table today. And boom, there it is. There's that kind of thing. She's like, "Is Prime here?" I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "Yes." And so we go get the Prime. We come in, and those little moments are actually really cool for me. And I try to always think about, there's always going to be something that's really going to be enriching. But you got to kind of start that yourself. You got to order that stuff. You got to order your own Play-Doh.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
good. Yeah.
Order your own Play-Doh.
Yeah, get your own Play-Doh.
Love it. I love it. Hey, Chris, we haven't really talked too much about it, and not that we got to keep piling on the peas onto your plate, right? Will you talk a little bit about your wife and some of the difficulties, some health concerns there?
Sure. Background real quick. Met in 2012, 2013. Long story short, she was kind of the hairdresser of all of our friends. I never met her because I saw the same lady, for the last 30 years. And people are like, you don't know your wife? No, what the heck? I'm sure my wife did. But the long and the short of it was, when we got together, I mean, we had a massively active lifestyle. We were working out in the gym. We were doing mud races. I was in the best shape of my life. I was, in the 1,000-pound club with the bench, squat, and deadlift and all that. And I've got 8 screws in my back. I've had 2 back surgeries, and I was still in that good of shape. So she was just full of energy and life and vigor, and it was amazing. I mean, she was cutting people's hair. People loved her, and I fell in love with her. And she was just this rock star. And we went to Jamaica on our honeymoon, and then she passed out on the plane, like in the middle of the aisle. And I was like, "What in the world?" And she's like, "I don't know what's wrong with me." And she kind of came to, and we had to go through customs in a gurney. She was like in this gurney thing. We saw some doctors at Mayo, and we looked at infectious disease, on why she had all this malaise and fatigue and what was going on. Her body hurt like crazy. And we got back from our honeymoon. She spent spent 3 months straight in bed, and she went to doctors here or there. I took her there. I had almost sometimes carried her to the car. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I've been married to this woman for 7 days. And we come, and this is what?
Yeah.
What happened?
I didn't sign up for this.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Didn't sign up for it. And we're still happily married 8 years later. But so it was a shock, an absolute shock. And when that happens, you can't go on those journeys together. You can't do those mud races together. You can't go to those gyms together. I'm not just going to leave her side, although I should have, to take care of myself better. But the long and the short of it was, after those 3 months, she kind of came to. It was December 27th, 2014. She came out of the bedroom and she goes, I don't feel like I'm going to die anymore. I feel like I can get out of bed right now. And I said, well, fantastic. She goes, okay, I'm going to try to go to work after the first of the year. So slowly but surely, she incorporated more things into her life. And she went back to work. She wasn't able to really do it. And over the next few years, it would just set in from time to time. Oh my gosh, I can't get through this. All right, I got to leave my career. I got to work from home. I got to only do 4 clients a week. Oh, and I'm going to do 1 client a week. And her energy levels just started to diminish over time. And the long and the short of it is, she has a condition called MECFS. I can't really pronounce it. It's like myalgic encephalomyelitis. I don't know what I can't really say it, but it's a neurological immunity issue that basically takes people's human battery, and you're not able to recharge it with sleep. So she'll sleep for 12 hours and wake up on 3%. And if you know what it's like to feel exhausted and your body hurts, you just want nothing but go to sleep. That's how she feels when she wakes up. And so there is no doing anything else except lying there. And I mean, it's crazy. It's so misunderstood. The amount of funding for this is like, CDC funding for this is like $5 per case instead of some of the thousands per case that some of these other autoimmune problems have. The only saving grace that's come with COVID is that there's this thing called long COVID. You've heard of this, where people had COVID early on and they just can't get right. They just feel malaise and stricken with, well, that's exactly what my wife has. But she had a bout of Epstein-Barr virus years ago that caused the same thing. Doesn't happen to everybody. Happens mostly in women. But it does happen to people who just they just kind of whisk away into obscurity. My wife was an active member of the community. She had probably 250, 300 clients that saw her on a regular basis. Wow. And those people loved her. It was like, she was like her haircut and therapist. They just, and again, all the influence she had on me, the fitness influence that she had, and then her online business, where she was selling vintage paper goods on Instagram. She had a big influence there, a big following there, and she's gone. She's basically gone. People don't ever see her get the haircut. People don't purchase her collections of vintage items anymore. She has disappeared from the world, and that's what this condition does. And so the struggles that I have is, like I said in our talk before, at one point, when things are at their worst, I feel like I have 4 kids. I feel like I have to take care of another child because she can be so pitifully helpless because of her condition. And I will say this on this podcast here. She's done a lot of meditating, a lot of silent time for herself, reflecting on, mind over matter kind of things. And I will say it's helping. I'm not saying she's cured. I'll say it's helping though. She's sometimes she'll meditate for an hour, things over her eyes, sounds, and then she'll be able to wake up and have an evening with us. And that wasn't happening 4 or 5 months ago. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that if it is a neurological issue, right? And what's neurological mean? It's up here, right? It's not like in your head, but it's literally in your head. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, and there is a whole lot of, there's a bunch of stories out there of people having power of the mind. One of our executives with Publix had a grapefruit-sized lump of cancer in his stomach years ago. And the doctor said, stage 4, you got about 6 months. You want to start treatment to give yourself maybe a year or 2? He goes, nah, man, I'll pray it out. I'll see you later. And the doctor says, excuse me? He said, I'll pray it out. He says, okay. He goes, okay. And 4 months later, it was gone. Completely gone.
Wow.
Like the doctor he's like, you weren't lying, Mr. Blanton. He goes, no, I wasn't lying. I told you I was going to get it. And the tragic part of the story is that like a year later, he passed of a heart attack. But wow. It was a crazy moment that really was inspiring to a lot of people. And so there is some other power out there. There's some mind over matter out there, and you just gotta sometimes believe that things are going to be better. And that's where she is. Yes, about my wife. That's kind of where she is right now. She's just started this journey. We're talking like 20 days ago, of kind of getting things in place with her mind, herself, and I'm slowly starting to see that 5% become 10, a human battery becoming 15. So, so it's been good to see so far. Knock on wood. We got a long road ahead with her, but this was a great start for sure.
Well, you guys are both fighters, and you can really tell that you've got it in your core that there's something, there's a purpose out there, and everything you got to do, and you're not running from that purpose. So I thank you for that. That's huge.
Yeah.
Chris, man, your story, hopefully the hope is here that what you talked about, some of the things you're talking about, man, although some dads might not be able to relate to all of it, that hopefully, I think at the end of the day, if there's any takeaway, it's difficult times don't require men to check out. It requires us to dig in even deeper and invest in what we got going on. And I hear that coming through. I see that when I know, obviously some difficulties and health concern with your wife, on your channel to talk about how your wife, packages screws together for you, just doing things right. I mean, like it's a crew effort, man. It takes, there you go. It takes a lot of people to come together. Your family, cohesion, everyone working together for a common goal. And I see that on your channel, and I hear you talking about that. So, I hope that's what other dads are hearing as well.
I hope so. I want to say one more thing about what dads need to do for themselves too. You have to do something for yourself. Okay, you have to. And I'll tell you, mine's been a little juvenile lately, but we've redone our backyard to be almost all hardscape, so it's like a parking lot back here now.
Favorite video.
And
favorite video.
Yeah, the favorite video. And so, I was like, what I enjoyed as a kid? I'm gonna try this again. So I went online and I bought a few of these things, and I got some like 40 miles an hour RC cars. And I've been ripping and racing these things around this property as a 41-year-old man, like running these cars around. And it is like this like juvenile primal, like, oh, did you see the air I just cleared? And you saw the car on the video. But that every once in a while, you have to kind of just take something for you. And I've said this before in other podcasts and other videos too, that, also your success on what you're doing in life is based upon what you're doing with the time that's not required by something else, right? And so everybody's got it. Some moments in each day for themselves. Everybody, maybe not a whole lot, and some days are better than others. But take those times to either do one, build a business, or two, race an RC car, or whatever you want to do. If it's in learning a new craft, you have to take that time for you to make sure you have small victories for yourself that make you smile, for sure.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Chris, man, I've just really gotten a kick out of just learning to know your story and just get a kick out of how you approach things. You really bring a very authentic, down to earth approach to life. And I think that's why people are attracted to you. You get what you get with Chris, right?
Yeah, it's true. When we were at WorkFitsCon, and I was meeting a lot of people. It was different this year. A lot more people would come up and say, "Hey, man, your story's great. Appreciate watching stuff." Blah blah blah. And I love it. I've been approached in the world, like at IKEA and places. Hey, love your channel. I'm like, oh, this is crazy. I will sit and talk to anyone, and the feel is that I got from a lot of those people were like, "Man, this is exactly the same. This is crazy." Yeah. Like I thought this was like an act you did. No, it really isn't. It's just kind of how I am.
Yeah, you didn't rehearse it.
It's been enriching. I say, besides having kids, starting a family, the growth of this channel and the support that the people have shared over comments and meeting people over the years has been the most satisfying thing that I've ever done.
Yeah.
Besides building a family and being a dad, it's been so enriching and so enlightening that it in and of itself, that is the motivating factor to keep it moving. For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
I love it. Yeah, Chris, man, I know you talked a little bit about, odds and stuff. I want to give you the opportunity. What message, what encouragement would you want to, send out to other dads out there who maybe or may not going through different odds and stuff that you go through? What is a message or encouragement you would like to leave for all of our strong dads out there?
Dealing with kids, I don't care if they're special needs or not. dealing with any relationship in your life. It doesn't matter if they're old or young or whatever. There's one thought that if I really think about this quite a lot, I have the most success with most outcomes, is to really seek to understand people's situation before you make sure that they understand you. If I can relate and see where someone's coming from, I have a better understanding to resolve that conflict, resolve that whatever it is. And we're speaking of things that maybe need resolution, but in layman's terms, seek to understand before you're understood. And that goal, that synopsis of a thought is really something I try to remember a lot. And my wife will tell you that I don't remember it a lot. Okay. Because I'm a fixer. I'm a make it work kind of guy. I'm a fix it in the moment. Like, what's wrong? Let's fix it. Okay, whatever. And that's not how most of the world handles things. So it's been a struggle for me to back up, see it at 30,000 feet, understand the situation, and then objectively move forward. So, and that will come across, if you're able to do that restraint and moving with purpose, but slowly, that will come across as one of the most admirable traits and the strongest traits a dad can have. And you become so trustworthy if you're able to articulate resolution with purpose and understanding.
Wow. Perfect. It's almost like you wrote that down and rehearsed it.
No.
That's good.
No.
You did. You know what I would like to do, Chris, if it's okay with you, I don't know why, but I'm feeling just led to pray for you and your family and your wife.
Thank you.
If you'd be okay with that, I'd like to do with that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Right. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, man, you have shown us a man today through Chris. That is a guy who's got a genuine heart and just wants to be on purpose as you have gifted him with the talents and the ideas and the energy and the outlook, Lord. And I just pray now that you would bless him and his wife and his kiddos, Lord, that in his business endeavors, Lord, that you would provide and take care of all of his needs. Lord, I pray that our message today is one that reaches out to all of us strong dads out there as we try to get out of our own way and let you do your thing through us. So, Lord, I thank you for Chris. I thank you for his passion. I thank you for his work. In your son's name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, good deal, man. I hope you guys out there got something from this message. Thanks so much for Kramer's Beer House, Casey Outdoor Solutions for coming alongside of us. Really do appreciate them. Chris, man, keep going out there, making videos so my girls and I can keep watching them. I love it.
For sure.
Yeah, I really appreciate being on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I really appreciate it as well.
Yep.
All right. We're going to thank our sponsor real fast.
I already did.
Oh, did you guys?
You don't pay attention to
I was just thinking about other good things. All right. Thanks very much. And hey, we will now be an avid follower of A Glimpse Inside.
Yeah, we'll put your link in the description down on YouTube. So
thank you, guys. And I'm going to share this as well. I'd like to see most of my audience, if they can get a hold of this. If you're, I think it's definitely, you guys are an inspiration to a lot of people, putting yourselves out there to communicate to us that, and sharing our stories is, no one would know this if it hadn't been for your efforts putting this together. So I can't thank you enough.
Yep. Really appreciate it. Go out there and meet some strong dad, guys.
Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Casey's offers a wide selection of plants, landscaping materials, home and garden decor, and gifts for every occasion. Casey's is committed to providing exceptional service, a unique shopping experience, and value to every customer. Stop in and see what makes Casey's so unique. Located at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana, or call 812-537-3800. Let Casey's help you add beauty to your home.